the Church of Scientology is so afraid of.
This is SPTV.
Hello, guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another beautiful day, right, Katrina?
Yes,
How are you?
good. I have a nice sunny day, so that's nice.
Sunny days are good, you guys. Sunny days. Oops, I'm getting feedback from my phone. Sunny days are awesome when you can really be in the moment to enjoy them, right?
That's hard. But yes.
Enjoying the sunny day is the hard thing, you guys. But the
really
sunny days are upon us, so that's
Yes.
good. So without further ado, you guys, we wanted to get into the background of this episode. And then we wanted to go over with you guys what we're going to talk about in today's episode. So in this inaugural episode of Scientology Kids Unite, this is our first Scientology Kids Unite. We're honored to introduce you to our dear friend, Katrina Reyes. I can say it like
Yay, you actually
Katrina
pronounced
Reyes.
it.
Katrina Reyes. Katrina's in the house. Katrina's journey is one of remarkable resilience and strength, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. Born in Siberia, Russia, Katrina's life took an unimaginable turn when at just 11 years old, Sea Org so-called recruiters were sent on a mission by Debbie Cook and Lori Engelheart to get as many people and kids as they could to sign sham billion-year literal child trafficking ridiculous contracts. Katrina's story is a harrowing example of how multi-generational the involvement in Scientology led her into a life that she never chose. She's a third-generation Scientologist, as am I, with her grandmother being the first to become entangled in this web. Her grandmother's journey began with Herbalife in Russia, and it took a sharp turn when she attended a conference in Florida and was recruited in to work at a Scientology Fort Harrison hotel, and later was posted as the so-called flag consultant in Moscow, Russia, effectively making her a Russian recruiter. Katrina's grandmother then encouraged Katrina's mother to join the Sea organization, continuing the family's involvement. The Moscow consulate played a pivotal role in facilitating R1 and R2 visas for Katrina, allowing her to be effectively trafficked into America at just 11 years old. Katrina's situation took a disturbing turn when her R2 visa was upgraded to an R1, thanks to the efforts of Glenn Stylo's Office of Special Affairs in Florida, so that she could start to work, so she could be effectively put to start to work. The visa change effectively bound Katrina to a life of unthinkable tasks and child labor. Despite her youth, she was tasked with the unimaginable responsibility of caring for adults who had paid to undergo interrogations, so-called sec checks, to get their OT eligibility, the literal point of no return of the KGB type compromat that is data mined by this organization to ensure they truly trust you to upgrade your level. She had to tend to their needs, ensuring that they were so-called well-rested, provided with vitamins, and comfortable and cozy space, so they could really pay a ton of money for what all of these adults inside those hotels are all about and into. Katrina's story sheds light on the shocking realities of life inside Scientology, where children like her were thrust into roles that they were never meant to play. Her experiences underscore the urgent need for change within this organization that continues to exploit individuals across generations. My connection with Katrina, my personal connection with Katrina, dates back to when we were both kids, and she became my student during that horrific, tumultuous period of our formative years. Her story encapsulates the arduous journey of every child trafficking kid survivor of these American state-sanctioned hotels. Our journey to recover has been marked by numerous setbacks and potholes along the pathway. However, today we do stand on the other side of those trials, ready to share our experiences and reflect on our healing processes and advocate fervently for the children who remain trapped within those same hotels. Please join us warmly to welcome our remarkable friend, Katrina Reyes, and together let's hold space for her inspiring story of grace and strength.
You're
Hello,
too sweet.
Katrina.
Yeah. That was hard to hear. Oof. Yeah.
I know, babe, and that was hard to write.
Yeah.
That was hard to admit.
Mhm.
That's what was our childhood inside this country, you know, being brought from different countries. Like, I'm from Mexico, you're from Russia. We were having our lives in those countries in whatever way those were.
Yeah.
And we were trafficked here with these scam visas that have effectively eroded all common sense of what type of chance does a kid like ourselves have in understanding what an R1 visa would do to our whole entire life. How just a stupid visa could literally be the gateway of us being uprooted,
Mhm.
frauded,
Yeah.
you know, in
But I
unthinkable
think
ways.
the worst part, it was just that it was under false pretenses. Like, I don't know about you, but like, um, it's almost like they wave this Hollywood American dream in these countries where I think people already are desperate for a better life. So it was kind of like who like I was asked if I wanted to go. But the way it was painted for me was like, you're gonna have like this beautiful life in the United States, right? And you go, who doesn't want to go to the United States? Like I'm from Siberia, like it was really poor, and I don't know about how you like how your your family life and financial situation was, but it was the idea that I had of what it is was just totally false. Like I was sold this Hollywood picture, down to the point of I don't know if they did that to you, but do you remember they actually had like a magazine and it was like Hacienda. Look, there is a gym, there is a pool. Look how cool it is, right? And it's like, and then somebody who does come from a very poor country, that to you looks like a luxury. You're thinking, oh my God, it's an upgrade. Um, And I think that is like the most sickening about it because it's completely under false pretenses. Right. And then you get there and you're like, oh my God, this is not luxury. This is like literally like a prison camp. Yeah.
Yeah, a prison camp with a gym, guys, because that's all it took to put a pool inside a hotel. And
Yeah.
I love how you just said this so straight to the point, Katrina, because it couldn't be more right. Like there was the magazine that they had literally taken the photos where they would go, look, this is where you're gonna live. This is where everyone lives. Don't you want to be here? Don't you want to read right here? And it speaks to this culture of the scam of like Herbalife. You know, I love that your grandma was on Herbalife, and that's how she even landed in Florida. And
Mhm.
then, you know, Herbalife, you guys, my mother was in Herbalife back in Mexico. So Herbalife, Scientology, and Hollywood, and all of these things are so interconnected. Because again, how did my parents end up in Herbalife? Your grandma ends up in Herbalife, you know, and Herbalife had major Scientology top heads that were into doing this. One of them being Rosa Prieto from Spain, a multi-million-dollar woman that had a ton of money with Herbalife, you guys. So they were at the top of that pyramid scheme too. And then they used their Herbalife pyramid scheme to go and then recruit into another scheme that they were all into running and exchanging. And I mean, it's unthinkable. And I just, you've just put it so eloquently, Katrina, that, you know, how were we supposed to know? Under in what world? You know, it's just like we were being sold this like timeshare in Florida. It's like
Yeah.
timeshare from hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you're gonna really be an owner of this hotel. All you have to do is become a slave to it.
Yeah.
Like, where's the joke? Like, we're not seeing how to laugh about this, America. Like, literally, it couldn't be more played at our expense if we didn't have to pay with all our formative years.
Yeah. I actually remembered, it triggered a memory now when I actually looked at the magazine, and they had these beautiful apartments at Hacienda, right? So they took the best apartment, probably like what the top executives have, right? Those luxury, pretty apartments. And I remember arriving and going to the EPF birthing. And I was like, this is not what was on the picture.
EPF birthing, you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine walking in to this like 1960s built Hacienda Gardens
Apartment complex.
apartment complex
Yeah.
that they never really renovated. They had no reason to renovate those apartments, you guys. There was, you know, that was the last priority on the list. Trust us.
Yeah.
Never mind that. Then they started using child slave labor, such as myself, Katrina, because then I was put in the RPF, and I was the one that was building all the executive, you know, because they started with executives, you guys. So the executives always got the best of everything. So let's just make sure that that's not lost or forgotten about, you know, because it was a slave master society. I mean, that's
Yeah.
all it is.
Yeah.
Literally all it is.
And I remember like we were poor, right? Back in Russia, right? But I was like, this is like almost the same conditions like how I grew up. This isn't better. But then I remember like feeling, I'm 11 years old. I'm a child. Um, and I remember walking in, and it was a standard two-bedroom apartment in an apartment complex. And you walk in, and it's supposed to be the living room. And in that living room, it's one, two, three bunk beds, right? Then you go, and it's like dining room slash kitchen. That's like an open concept, right?
Mhm.
And in the dining room, there is a bunk bed. Then there is another bedroom in the back, two bedrooms in the back. And those two bedrooms also had like two, three bunk beds. So it was like 16 people crammed into a two-bedroom standard apartment. And I just remember being so shocked. And this is something that I look back on, and like what you thought was normal, now I look back and I just sometimes I'm horrified how it was so normal for us and how it's so not normal from the outside world. The fact that yes, they were divided in female and male, but the fact that like I am an 11-year-old child having a 40-year-old woman change right in front of me completely. Like just like now as a mother, right? And now as an adult who has lived in the outside world, I go, damn, that's actually against the law. Like literally that's indecent exposure to a minor. Like somebody could literally go to jail for that. And just to kind of reflect back and think that was so normal for us, right? And then the fact that if we ever had an issue with that, like if I felt uncomfortable, then like I was wrong for feeling uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It was like now, like looking back at a lot of those things, it was it was almost like there was just breaking laws on everything, literally, and totally getting away with it. And then at the same time, like suppressing that natural feeling of this isn't right. This doesn't feel comfortable. This isn't right. And then they would suppress you and say, no, it's wrong to think that way. So, yeah.
I mean, you just bring up such an amazing point, Katrina, that is so missing in the conversation, obviously, because even as you just said what you said, you advocated for me
Mhm.
being in that Hacienda Gardens, in that RPF block, where literal self-admitted, you know exactly what in the hell I mean,
Mhm.
were there with us, changing themselves in front of us. Like you said, like, I mean, there was never a time to say, no, this is weird AF.
Yeah.
Because nobody gave an F about us.
Yeah.
It just go into that room and do whatever and come to post. Why are you late?
Mhm.
What in the hell's going on? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's shocking. I mean, it's like I always say, it's like every day you find out something more disgusting and horrifying. And what you just said is exactly indecent
Mhm.
exposure. Like that's breaking a law. Like, how are the hell are these adults getting away with undressing themselves in front of us? I mean, it never even occurred to me until you just said it.
Listen, it's been years, but I still have I still look back and it's almost like every time I look back, it's like I realize something new. It's almost like it never ends, right? But hey, at least I'm realizing it. So, and then it's,
Yeah.
the word victim in Scientology, it's a very bad word. It's punishable to um feel as a victim. Um and I think I used to have this shame of feeling as a victim, right? Or even considering myself as a victim. Um it was always like a dirty bad word. Um and I think it's been like 5 no, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Um I think it finally clicked in my head to the point where I'm like, I'm actually proud to be a victim. Like, I will say that with confidence, you know, because the longer I denied, just even to myself, that I was a victim, um, the longer I couldn't heal.
Hmm.
And then once I kind of was okay about that within myself, I felt it was also kind of empowerment because when you say, I'm a survivor or I'm a victim of abuse, sexual abuse, or whatever it is, it's empowerment because you made it through, you survived it. So that's just like one of the other things that, in Scientology, we are so programmed from the young age that like you could never be a victim. Like that was dirty. That was bad. Um, and that's very toxic because what I realized over the years is that what that does to you psychologically is that you become, in psychology terms, you become codependent. You know,
1000%.
that pleasing mentality, right? I'm never wrong. Somebody else, I am always wrong. It is always my fault for everything. So when you grew up that way, either from Scientology, or it could be you grew up in a really narcissistic parents, right? You tend to gravitate towards those partners and relationships because you're in the state of mind of, I need to cater everything to everybody, and my feelings don't matter, and I don't matter. And even if I did do something wrong, it's even if it's something happened to me, I'm not a victim. It is my fault. So kind of reflecting back, and like I said, I've gone through a lot of years of therapy. A lot of people end up in a really abusive relationship. And even after leaving Scientology, I was a victim of one of those abusive relationships because to me, that's all I knew. Like to me, that was love.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know of any other way. So
Yeah, love is pain is what they teach you in those hotels over and over and over again, you guys. It's like the more they're abusing you, the more you should be so glad and thankful. Like the more they lock you up in those rooms and interrogate you, ask you all manner of disgusting depravities that are none of any adult's business to be even asking. Like,
yeah.
Katrina, as if, even criminal defendants get treated better than children in those hotels because criminal defendants are afforded an advocate if someone is going to go and ask them disgusting, depraved questions. Even that, the police literally with gloves, oh, come over here, really come get your advocate to speak on your behalf. And it's like, where were those advocates when these people were, checking if we've ever committed a felony?
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, go and answer that question. And I don't have an answer to that question. I don't even know what in the literal hell you are talking about. Well, go think about it some more. Go think about it some more and think about another life that you maybe did commit that felony. And they were
Mhm.
asking us to fantasize about incriminating ourselves. And then they would video record it, watch it, and laugh and
Yeah.
just be like, ha, 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 look at those stupid kids that we are really torturing. And it's in
Or
our
have
youth
somebody
about.
or have somebody watch live at the same time.
I mean, literally like this, you guys, like the abuse is happening live. This is live abuse that is being, none of this abuse is happening in a closet where no one saw and one depraved person
Mhm.
really thought about something different than what Elvin Hubbard said. The whole thing is they are all in on the depravity.
Yeah.
They don't have a shred of humanity left by the time L. Ron Hubbard really infiltrates every last neuron of head that they have because they're not even allowed to think outside of those euphemisms that
Yeah.
are what launder that reality. Like, it's nice of them to always have another word to say what it is that they're doing. Oh,
Mhm.
that's just called a sec check. Well,
Mhm.
doesn't that sound friendly? I mean, who doesn't want to just go get a sec check? You want to get your sec checked? I mean, get him sec checked. Like it's all just like boop, just like corporate talk.
Mhm.
Just like get your sec check. Okay, did you? I mean, what in the hell are you checking? And how could you be utilizing kids such as us to do what in the hell you're all in on?
The thing is that, it's interesting. I've had conversation with religious people, right, about Scientology. And I'm not religious. Like, I think I'm so traumatized from Scientology that I'm just like, any organized religion, I'm staying away.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because like I had somebody from a Christian background who's actually, this person was very, very religious Christian. And they just kind of want to know about Scientology because it's a religion, right?
Right.
So it was kind of like, can you kind of let's go over the basics, like how close it is to Christianity and things like that. And I remember explaining the whole thing about sec checks, the security checks. And I remember she said, oh, well, that's very similar to confessions.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I sat there and I thought about it and I was like, well, it sounds like a confession, right? Scientology makes it sound like, oh, it's just a confession, right?
They literally call it confessional, right? Like, okay,
Yeah,
when they really want to sound religious, they call it confessional. When they really want to talk between themselves, I just call it sec check. Like, it doesn't even
yeah.
matter.
But the weird thing is that how they sell it. They sell it as like this healthy thing, right? Why don't you come get off everything off your chest and then you will feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, so then I was explaining to her, I was like, I would take a confessional in a church with a priest any day over ever doing sec checks in Scientology. And she went, why? And then I was like, well, when you go and have a confession with your priest, you are not punished afterwards. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to make, the priest doesn't tell you you're such a horrible person, right? And you're, because of your sins now, nobody's going to accept you until you make up the damage. And you know what? You need to come and help renovate our church on your own free time. Otherwise, you're not allowed to come back anymore here. And then she was like, no, like, I guess that understanding clicked because I think a lot of people from the outside world, they don't fully understand the depth of it, right? So when they hear sec checking and confession, right, they go, oh, well, it's just a confession. But no, it's a little deeper than that. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that you're making that point, Katrina, because I think that, for so long, these people, all they've done is spend millions of literal dollars, you guys, paying the press, the American press, to regurgitate the word church every time they're referring to these people.
Yeah.
Never mind that they never took it upon themselves to research a shred of anything. Whatever you say is what we write in our story because we couldn't be more unbiased as the American press, who has no willingness to do any heavy lifting, Katrina, because, starting from why in the hell don't they use Google glasses to go inside these hotels and check it out for themselves? I mean, it's not like we haven't been out here decades literally begging for someone to go do something to interfere with all the things that we're saying, right? And we always get this like gaslighting line about how we're so, religiously everything goes. As long as you say the word religion, the critical thinking skills of all law enforcement go into ultra shock and they cannot analyze facts anymore. They cannot see that, like to your point, everything is being video recorded, you guys. Everything is being transcribed as it is happening.
Mm-hmm.
The questions of so-called sec checks that I was taught to do starting at age 12. So here we go. Katrina's 11, I'm 12, and we're being put to do these questionnaires where it literally says, have you ever punished your sexual partner? Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Think about it again. Like, and as if punishing your sexual partner is not a felony. Like,
Yeah.
in what world? And then we wonder why Danny Masterson, what happened with Danny Masterson and the Church of Scientology, the hotels, the Celebrity Center Hotel, Manor Hotel of Scientology is not implicated at all.
Yeah.
They're not part of the criminal case. They couldn't be more not part of the criminal case if they weren't paying to not be part of the criminal case that they created for themselves. It wasn't like they were not collecting money on Danny coming to them to answer the question, have you ever punished a sexual partner? That's not what Danny was only asked himself, you guys. This was asked of every Joe Schmo inside of those hotels. So in what world is that just a religion? It's like, and even these religious scholars that are like confused, right? Because they also bought the false glib pitch about, yeah, this is just like any old thing. Let's not really like go after religion, because they really did write in a book that, whatever, immaculate conception or whatever other crazy, oh, that's just like Sinu. Oh, that's just like Sinu. What are you in the hell talking about?
Yeah.
First of all, we don't know shit about Sinu, because going back to our point of the eligibility, that, again, why was Katrina ushering these people to go get asked those questions? Like, why was her youth spent? What were you doing in that Sandcastle hotel?
It was every day, making sure, pretty much, it was making sure that, what was it called? See, I'm forgetting the Scientology language. I've
Yeah. HCCs? The
purposefully,
HCCs.
no. I've
Oh.
literally purposefully, like, on purpose, have completely got rid of every Scientology term that I use in my language.
Yeah.
When you have a post, and what was the purpose of your post, or what was it, right?
Oh, your hat.
Hat. There we go.
There you go.
So in my description, in my hat, it said to make sure that every single auditor goes into session on time, and that auditor's time is never wasted. So basically, we had like 12 auditors, right? And I need to make sure that each auditor has their schedule booked completely. And they had to basically do certain amount of hours of auditing a day. And if for some reason, and which, now that I look back, I'm like, it's great organization skills and management skills, but the expectations were through the roof. So let's just say the night before, I would call all of their pre-clears and I would schedule them for next day. I would say, okay, Joe Schmo, you're going in at 8:00 in the morning, right? Your session is gonna run probably 2-3 hours. So Mary Sue, you're going to be on standby, right? They should be done by 10. So by 10, you need to be ready. And then like this. So first of all, you have to schedule people, but you never have an exact date of how long you never have an exact time frame of how long the session is gonna go. Right. So you can schedule all you want, but then let's just say my Joe Schmo at 8:00 didn't pass their session ability test. So now, the auditor has time until 10:00, and Mary Sue was scheduled for 10. So now if that one auditor doesn't have and is not going into session for those 10 hours or for those 2 hours, it's my fault.
And how old are you here? How old are you when it's your fault?
12, 13. Yeah. So then I would have to call Mary Sue. So then I would have to call Mary Sue and say, hey, Mary Sue, I know we agreed for 10:00 and you were supposed to be on standby. Can you come in right now? And then she will go, I have this issue and I can't come in right now. So then it's my job to solve her issue too. So let's just say her issue is she doesn't have a babysitter. So that I need to scramble and figure it out and help her come up with a babysitter, because tick tock. And then at the same time, you have RTC behind you all the time. And it was literally me managing in an impossible scheduling and then handling issues of adults. They go, oh, well, I know what was it called when before you start the session, you check Metabolism.
Metabolism. Check their metabolism on the machine. They go,
Yeah.
take a deep breath, hold it for just a moment, and let it out through your mouth, guys.
Yes.
So they go,
Yeah.
and then supposedly they're really checking if the machine and the body, because then there really are a body, like your body is the vessel that the machine's going to check the stuff. I mean,
So
it's
then
not,
what would happen is, let's just say they didn't pass their metabolism check. So then now again, tick tock, the auditor comes out, the prickler comes out, and then now it's my responsibility to figure it out. What the hell is wrong with this person? Did they sleep enough? Did they eat enough? Did they have enough vitamins and everything else? You know, take them down to the restaurant, take them down to the cafeteria. If they need to eat, if they need to take some vitamins, if they need to have a shot of emergency, bring them back. And then if that pre-clear doesn't make it into session because they just don't pass their metabolism test, it's my fault. So again, so it was my responsibility. Well, no, I was punished if an adult wasn't responsible. So the pre-clear's irresponsibility was transferred to me, and then it was my fault.
Yeah.
Because at 12 and 13, you can like will people to do stuff. Yeah.
I mean, Katrina, it's so abominable, and it's so outrageous, and it's been trivialized as if that wasn't the standard operating procedure. I mean, she just brought up, you guys, the 12, 13-year-olds, that was the post that was filled with 12 and 13-year-olds. Folder page, tech page, Julian Schwartz was started as a page. I was started as a page. You were started as a page. And, you had to be pretty. You had to be good looking to be in public lines. Never mind that that's all they were looking for. It's like they would look at you and then be like, oh, no, you need to go on a diet before we put you on public lines because you're out PR. Yeah. And they would literally tell 12-year-olds to be on diets because they're too out PR because they're overweight. Literally.
Oh, yeah. It was, you always had to look presentable. Like, you always had to look perfect. You always had to look presentable. And then, but here's the thing, you realize they put all the pretty people that contact with the public, but then you can't be too pretty, because if you started out as a teenager like I did when I was 12 and 13, and then I went through puberty and my body developed, and then all of a sudden now, I'm proudly a double D size. No, you can't be pretty. Like, you actually need to go and get your uniform shirt that is a size bigger, because the one that you have is a little too tight. And like, the prickliers are going off of their overts and withholds that they're looking at you. So I mean, just imagine, like, I know, I look back now and I go, oh my God. And like, for us, it was so normal. It was normal. Like, there is this 50-year-old man who sees me in my uniform, and I'm 14, 15, and then goes into session and then confesses to have sexual fantasies about me. And then I'm in the wrong. And then I get punished. And then I get told, you need to wear a bigger size shirt. Your boobies are a little too big. It's turning on way too many men.
I mean, you guys, again, it's like, and to your point, Katrina, it's the fact that they knew the men were allowed to say, and they are provided a very comfy cradle and canoodle hotel. I mean, these people are paying upwards of $500 a day for some of these rooms that they're offering at these hotels. I mean, they're not a cheap stay for sure.
In Sandcastle, the minimum, so the cheapest room Back in 2006 was $375 a night.
I mean, 375 a literal night where you will be brought in kids from all over the world that are going to ask you if you're sessionable, and they're going to literally babysit you, because that was your job, Katrina, babysit you for unthinkable things put as your responsibility, to your point, because she couldn't have been more abused by the RTC people that would scream at her because, you had me at your hat write up. Don't waste the auditor's time. Well, you idiots, you're wasting a child's time, but never mind. Yeah, let's not really waste the auditor's time, but let's waste the child's time making them do all of these disgusting functions that have nothing to do with whatever in the hell you had to be doing at that point, because why in the hell were you inside a hotel called Sandcastle Hotel catering to these multimillionaire Scientologists, you guys? Because again, Danny Masterson is not the only multimillionaire. There are many, many, many. And the multimillionaires always end up at the top.
Sorry.
The multimillionaires always end up at the top getting serviced. I mean, Katrina, the fact that they would even call it go get serviced.
Yeah.
Did you get serviced? Are you liking your services? That public is complaining about how you're servicing them. We need to really talk to you because they just filed a complaint with the LRH host, the L. Ron Hubbard host, you guys, who was an unhinged lady usually, or kids that were brought in to really advocate.
Yeah.
Literally, kid you not, advocate for whatever in the hell the multimillionaires wanted to complain about. Oh, that kid, kind of made a face when I wasn't sessionable. Oh, the LRH host needs to see you. This public says that they would write reports on us, the kids. They're not being friendly enough with me. There, LRH host, I want them to be more friendly. And there was Ingrid, that was the LRH host at the Sandcastle, this old lady that was Swiss German, that was a literal living raging
nightmare. She would just come and scream at you. It was like right out of Hitler, right? She would just come in and just, especially with that German accent too. It was like she was scary. She was scary. I remember I actually had a complaint from a public one time, and it was the weirdest thing that it wasn't what the public said wasn't even a complaint. The public came to the LRH host and basically had a concern for me, right? And the concern was, I've known Katrina, I have been here now for a few weeks, getting my services.
Services, you guys, literally.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh God, all that Scientology lingo is coming back, right? And Katrina is always a very lovable person. She's such a big Satan. She's always, uptone. And I noticed that she seemed like she's a little down, like she's a little downtone recently. And it came as a concern. Like she noticed that I didn't look happy. So then afterwards, hold on, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, afterwards, I got into trouble because if I'm not happy and I have constantly this beautiful smile on, then I have overtime withholds. So then I was sent to ethics to figure it out. Why am I such a Debbie Downer? And there has to be some horrible things that you have done. And let's do a stack check and find out all the horrible things that you have done. So even those things get twisted so much that somebody who is a public, who genuinely had a concern and maybe actually cared for me, right? that's how it gets twisted. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that there's possibly maybe something wrong. And it's the environment or people around me. It's now we're going to drill you. And now everybody's going to know that you're in ethics handling and you have lower conditions. And that was humiliating. Like, that's one of the things. I remember I was going through my therapy and I was explaining my therapist about all the lower conditions and everything else, and then doing liability and how you had to make up amends and then pretty much have everybody signed it and accept you back into the good grace, right? And I remember I said it with such an ease, like the way I said it now. Like, for me, it was just with such an ease. And I just remember my therapist was like, could you tell me how that made you feel? And I was like, well, it was standard. Like, that's what you did. And she goes, no. How did it make you feel the first time? Right. And then I kind of thought about it and it hit me. I was like, holy shit. Like, sorry. It's degrading and berating somebody publicly. Like, no wonder we're having issues with like personal boundaries. Like, I had huge issues setting personal boundaries because I never had healthy personal boundaries.
Literally, exactly.
And berating somebody like that, and especially a child at that age, and especially if it was like remember in liability, you had to write what your what was it? What your crime was or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Crime, fight crime. Remember? So like, if it was anything sexual, first of all, you had to let it know that it was sexual.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean like sexual that like, I don't know, you went out and like had full blown consensual sex with somebody. No. It's like, I'm 16 and I kissed another 16 and like we made out for like 30 minutes, right? And like we were past lights out and all this stuff, and I was supposed to be already sleeping, so I broke the schedule, and like that's my bad deed. Like, you have to write all that stuff out, and like I remember thinking about it and going, holy shit, like that's bad. And 200 people had to sign it. So 200 people had to read exactly what I've done.
As a minor.
As a minor. And especially if it's, anything sexual. So they're reading what you have done. Then they're reading all the amends that you have made, right? And then they decide your fate, if they signed it or not sign it. And like, if the majority of the group doesn't sign it, then you're not worthy and you need to do more to make up your amends. Like, I remember going through my therapist session and when my therapist asked me that, I was like, the first time it was really humiliating. Like, it was cringeworthy. Like, I felt so, but then you see how sometimes we have to like almost bring ourselves back and be like, wait, it is not normal. Like, stop, like think about it differently. And I think that's what the therapy really helped me, because it's hard to think differently.
Well, and like you said, right, Katrina, it's hard to advocate for yourselves, guys, when you've been made to feel so worthless, and your worth is, go change in front of all those people, and who the hell cares? And you're an adult in a small body, and stop inconveniencing us. It was what we were told ad nauseum by these disgusting people that were just abusing us. And at the end of the day, it's just unthinkable that they've gotten away. They've been enabled to, Katrina, because again, it's like none of this could be happening at an industrial size scale.
Yeah.
These are not, oh, once upon a time, one child had one bad experience. This is how many children have been completely, literally exposed to the scourge of what goes on in these hotels, while the American government sits there laughing in our face, literally in our face,
Yeah.
as all
And
of their
media
law
too.
enforcement combined
Yeah.
cannot bring themselves to help children being brought into this country, because Ashton Kutcher really needed to have millions to solve nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, why is at Thorn, the organization, he steps down because he really wants to take a stab at child trafficking that takes place at the hotels where Danny Masterson is a paid member to? It's like,
Yeah.
how can this joke just continue to just go on and as if no one can connect a single dot? Oh, well, but Ashton wasn't involved in Scientology, but he couldn't be more exposed to it if he wasn't besties with this guy for 2 months. I mean,
Yeah.
2 months, 2 decades,
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
and it's like, but yeah, Congress really give money to the bestie of this convicted serial, you know what in the hell he is,
Hmm.
you
Oh yeah.
know? And never mind that they're doing that at scale, practicing law without a license, Katrina, because all of
Oh
these
yeah.
felonies that are coming up, it's like, how was I training people to do these courses in 2 weeks, and then, oh yeah, really find out if they committed a felony and really float it, because that's a thing.
Oh
And it
yeah.
couldn't be more religious. And to your point, it's like, priests are not, right now that I know of, started at age 12 to even sit for confession. I mean, never mind that they have their own history of problems, but you could at least give it to them the benefit of the doubt that the book didn't say be a complete, what they've been infiltrated by perverts. Like,
Yeah.
anyone can be infiltrated by crazy asses,
Yeah.
but in our case, it was like, it wasn't an infiltration. It was a grooming and a complete
Yeah.
setup where everybody was being dehumanized, tokenized,
Yeah.
and used as pawns in this sick game that makes not a shred of sense. At best, it's an adult game from hell where everyone is in on having not a shred of boundaries, because L. Ron Hubbard did pitch that as a good idea. So, you know, go help yourselves, get off on it, but don't bring minors to do y'all's bidding.
Yeah.
It's unthinkable, it's indefensible. 21 and under, there cannot be a way to defend this. There is none. There is no 50 shades of gray on what goes on to the 21 and unders. It's literally all done without consent, fully defrauded, fully coerced, fully couldn't be written in the human trafficking laws, as if these people didn't just literally take the blueprint of those laws and make a business model of it, and then
And
just
go
go
totally
run their
against it.
hotels.
Yeah. Totally against it. Yeah. You remember I remember the first time I kind of started realizing how bad this is, specifically in the legal way, right? Because a lot of times we were discouraged to even trust, right? I- Cops, government, like government was like ooh, no, 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 no. Like I think the biggest enemy was the people that we need to be afraid of is government and authority, um, and psychiatrists, right?
Any
So
possible advocate, any possible effective
yeah,
advocate, that if they were doing their job, they would
yeah,
come and help you. So,
yeah.
AKA just those, like, don't go to a therapist, don't go to a shred of advocate, because the advocates couldn't want to do worse for you.
But what I mean is that, like, I think, like now experiencing life out in the real world, right? Even in, I know we didn't. I mean, that's another thing is that we never had education, right?
Yeah.
But even now in schools, in government schools, right? They teach children, um, or at least they give them the information that, you know, um, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, right? Where somebody's supposed to touch you, where is somebody not supposed to touch you. Like my son just started elementary school, right? And I had to fill out all this paperwork. And I remember I had to check off certain classes and certain informational things that I was okay that school would share and teach him. And like literally one of them was sexual abuse. The other one was human trafficking, right? And then you have a psychiatrist in school, right? You have a student counselor. And even as a like legally, every single person in the United States, legally wise, is actually by law is what's called a mandate reporter, right? So because we didn't have any education, and I'm not talking about just math and all this other stuff, but actual education. Because when you grow up in a normal world, right? Either your parents or sometimes school or whatever, right? You would find this information. You would know what's right, what's not, right? What's appropriate, what's not appropriate. And then even if you don't know, there is, and the system is not perfect, but at least there is a system um to catch when the child is not speaking about it. But if you have an inkling feeling, you are a mandated reporter. You're supposed to report it, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I first ran into this because I was always passionate about children. And when I left, I don't have a degree, I don't have nothing. And I decided to open up my own business and I started up my own daycare. And let me tell you the amount that I learned what my rights were as a child was ridiculous.
Wow.
The amount of inspections, background check, medical check, me just as a daycare owner, as a provider, right? I had to do so many different courses in early childhood development. First aid CPR was mandatory, right? And I had to renew that every single year. I was a mandated reporter, right? And I had to do all those courses into actually knowing when to report and when not to report. And the thing is that it was, and I remember doing this, right? And I was kind of like thinking back about Scientology and everything. And just how everybody that's in there is totally what is that word? They're totally in it and enablers.
Yeah. Co-conspirators. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a literally conspiracy of adults that are circumventing all common sense laws. I mean, we're not talking about coming after them for this or that or having a belief and how could you have that belief is what you're saying, Katrina, because it's not like, in what world are you as a private citizen that is going to get access to maybe like 4, 5, 6 kids at your little daycare, expected to have all of this stuff filled out, only to have a hotel down the street that can do it at scale? And just because, somehow Monique Yingling, attorney that she is, writing whatever in the hell she wrote to the IRS, just goes, this is a 501c, you can't have a critical thinking skill, you can't have a law applied inside these hotels, you can't check inside, you can't see. Never mind that they're going to have hundreds. We were hundreds of kids. I mean, the fact that Katrina was showing up, you guys, is what made me think this was all okay. It must be above water. I keep seeing kids here with us, and we normalize all of these abuses because they were all being done to kids. And if it was being done to her, and then it was being done to me, and it was being done to Jenna Miscavige, and it was being done to all of us that were there, literally with the same set of circumstances. So, and again, to your point, Katrina, being brought in to our parents and being exposed to all of this was all okay with our parents. Our parents were inside the hotels themselves.
Yeah.
So nothing was Nothing rose a single literal red flag to these people, as they literally also became, in a lot of cases, financial benefactors. I mean, in the case of my parents, Katrina, they were public. So
Yeah.
once they put me in there, as you know, having a kid does cost money. So
Mhm.
if they didn't have to pay for my school anymore, for my food and my clothing as a 14-year-old, then that was a great deal that they were cutting for themselves and the executives at the hotel.
Yeah.
Because I mean, those are the people that have been making all manner of deals that apparently in America, those deals are no worries. Just go make a deal, go really write a contract, go really sign your kid to sign a binding contract as a 14-year-old. Never mind that. I mean, were you provided with any type of attorney by the time you landed in that Fort Harrison hotel as an 11-year-old?
No.
None.
No. I mean, I didn't even speak the language. Remember, I only spoke Russian for like the first year. I was
You
like
guys,
so
like,
isolated.
literally, she was in my courtroom and we had to like do sign language to each
Yeah.
other. I mean,
Yeah.
I've learned fluent Italian, Katrina, just because there were so many
Yeah.
Italians there, and I was young too, so I would just hear him speak, and soon enough, I just picked up the language and I was speaking to them in Italian and Spanish. But even with the Russians, I mean, we managed to somehow, like, I mean, I remember you coming to me, asking me questions, and we were like making all these sign languages. And again, that's also kind of interesting a part about this hotel, right, Katrina? Because you go, oh, well, they're sending people from Russia. We thought we were so cool because we were so
Yeah.
international.
Yeah.
We were like, oh my God, we're so, like you said, the Hollywood dream. You're gonna be in these incredible hotels with these incredible things, and it's like, they couldn't have been literally wasting all of our years
Yeah.
if that's all that took place at the time.
I
So
remember somebody um I was talking to like a really dear friend of mine. She has been like my best friend, my maid of honor at my wedding. And when I was kind of opening up to her at the beginning, right, and explaining really my whole situation, right, my life story, which is another thing, shame. I had to get rid of a lot of shame. It was really hard for me to open up to people because I literally felt shame about it.
yeah.
Um, and I remember opening it up to her and telling her everything. And I completely lost my track of thought. What was the last thing you said? Because that triggered my thought. Um,
Just about all the shame that we
oh
have in
yes,
terms
yeah,
of,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
remember, and I was explaining to her like what I was doing at the sandcastle because she was like, "Wait, you can't really correlate that job to the real world, like a hotel manager, right? Like my mom was a hotel manager in the real world, right? But like you couldn't really explain what was the tech page was, right?" So then, what's and I think the general public, they either think Scientology is a joke, right? They hear Scientology and they go, ha ha ha, the South Park episode or whatever, right? And then I was explaining to her, and she was like, "Oh, were there any? Did you ever met any celebrities?" And I was
Mm.
like, "Well, yeah, there was a lot of celebrities at the AO and at the Sandcastle, so that was quite a lot." And she was like, "Oh, well, that must have been cool.
Mm.
Did you ever met this person?" And then I was telling her like, "Yeah, I mean, John Travolta, Kirstie Alley, Leah Remini, Jason Bigay, Tom Cruise. He stayed in the Osceola in the penthouse all the time,
Right. The
right?"
penthouse. I mean, literal penthouse, guys.
Mhm.
So hotel penthouse could not be more appropriate.
Yeah. Um, and then she was like, "Well, that at least that was cool." And I'm like, "No, that wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Like, no, that was." Hmm. Like, I think it's really hard for people from the outside to really understand. Like, I hated when celebrities arrived
Mm.
because it was we all had to stay up and white glove everything. And remember,
Right.
and
Right.
white
They just made
glove,
more work for us, the
yeah,
slaves, the literal slaves that we were. I mean,
yeah.
please.
And then it was like, you literally, like, if I was ever put on is what called on lines for a celebrity, right? You had to be like top, like you had to control yourself and make sure you always smile, make sure you never come off rude. It was stressful. It was so stressful because that celebrity could literally turn around and just not like you, and then guess what, now I'm in ethics trouble again, like totally in ethics trouble again. And I remembered I the first time I was with Kirstie Alley. No, not with Kirstie Alley. I didn't like Kirstie Alley at all, but as a human, I mean,
Yeah.
John
Christy was
Travolta's wife. John Travolta's wife.
Kelly Preston.
Kelly Preston. I remember the first time, and I think she didn't pass her metabolism test, so we had to go to a canteen and get something to eat and everything else. And of course, I have to escort her, right? And we're standing in the elevator, and I think that was my first time ever being put on a celebrity lines. And I'm standing there, and I'm so fucking nervous because it's like, make sure you don't say anything dumb. Make sure you don't smile too much. Make sure you don't look too unhappy. And you have to be friendly and warm, but then you can't be too friendly and too warm because you can't fraternize with public.
Right.
Right. And I was like, what, 14 at that time? And of course, you're starstruck, right? Here is this freaking celebrity. And I remembered, I think she noticed that I was really nervous. And I'm pretty sure like my nervousness was just like written all over my face. And then she was like, how is your day going? And I was like, oh, I'm good. And then she was like, I really like the ring that you have. Right. And I was like, oh, thank you. And then right away, I'm like, fuck, what do I say? Do I further, am I saying too much? And it was just fucking stressful. It was always so stressful. And, but I think that moment she was actually like genuinely being a good human being. There were some public who were genuinely nice people, right? But it was, I don't know. And that was another thing that I was going to bring up. I completely forgot. I know I'm hopping from subject to subject, but did you ever realize that in Scientology, we were all made to be erase your entire personality and erase your entire individuality, down to the point where you couldn't even express yourself through hair, shoes, makeup, jewelry. Like, it's bad enough that we had to wear uniforms, right? And like you couldn't even express yourself through clothes. But literally, kids would get in trouble for wearing. I remember I saved up money and it was Christmas and I bought Converse. And I was like, oh my God, the shoes are so awesome. And remember, this is early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
You remember the Avril Lavigne stage and everything.
Exactly. Avril Lavigne. Oh my God, we love her.
And I remember I bought Converse that were pink and black. And I wore them to post.
You did?
And I got in trouble.
Oh my God, of course.
I didn't put any makeup on. I'm in trouble because I don't look presentable. I need to put makeup on. I mean, think about it. 13, 14, 15 years old would get in trouble if you don't put makeup on.
Yeah.
Then if you put too much makeup and you look a little sexy, you get in trouble if you put too much makeup and you look a little sexy. If you really went out and did anything with your hair and had a really pretty, attractive, stylish haircut, too sexy. Can't have it. Like, And I remember when I left, right? And after a few years again, when I started my therapy, I had this weird, it was sad. I will tell you, it was really sad to realize
Yeah.
that, but this realization that like, I don't even know who I am.
Mm.
What do I even like? What kind of clothes do I like? You know, what's my favorite color? What style of hair do I like and what kind of makeup I like? And
And I almost saw it to me when it happened to me, Katrina. I almost saw it like a death. Like I felt like I
yeah,
was dead. Like I was like, wait, what was that? Who am I? What is all of this? Because the lie becomes so obvious. And then
yeah,
all that stuff that was keeping all that sort of making sense when you were there as a kid buying the stupid pitch, that you're like, okay, like you said, it couldn't have been all a fugazi if you weren't assigned to look after Kelly Preston. I mean, in what world do you think this was all a scam and I was tapped to literally make sure that Kelly Preston got her sessions,
mhm,
and are you wearing the right type of makeup? And, and if any adult in that Sandcastle hotel found you attractive, then you're wearing too much. And
yeah,
then the next day you look so unprofessional. What in the hell are you doing looking like a slob,
yeah,
like a degraded being? And
yeah.
it's like,
TB, yes,
a DB. I mean,
yeah,
that's what they were calling us, you guys, like calling us to our face, literally children being called degraded beings to their face. And, that's why I have been, really calling out Debbie Cook, Katrina, who was the
mhm,
captain of these hotels when we were there. And she set the tone as much as she's pointed the finger at David Miscavige and she couldn't have been more abusive and full knowing on what she was doing because she would be going back to your point, humiliating people at every staff meeting, discussing unthinkable things in front of 600 people live. Oh my God, this person is so downstat and didn't make
yeah,
enough money for us this week, and aren't they such a disgusting person? And it's all and it always everything was contingent with money. Like we
yeah,
were supposed to be making money. Are you making us money? Are you stopping the money flows? Like it makes not a shred of sense in this year 2023 what happened to us, you guys. That's where we are, I think.
yeah, yeah. But hey, you know what? I actually enjoyed like rediscovering myself. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna experiment. And then I just went through a phase of just trying things. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this fun. I'm just gonna try different styles of clothes and I'm gonna try different types of things and I'm gonna rediscover myself and figure it out. What do I really like? Like,
Yeah.
and it's kind of sad that I had to do that in my 20s. That's sad.
And I mean, I was in my mid 30s when I
Yeah.
walked out of this. So it's like the midlife crisis could not have been more real if I didn't. I'm like, this is what
Yeah.
is just called a midlife crisis, right? And
Mhm.
for a while there, I thought myself so normal. I'm like, oh, everybody goes through a midlife crisis. Never mind that. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, we wanted to get through some comments. Here, and Blow Drill says the Joburg was really not all that common to be used as a sec check. Well, thank you for your comment, Blow Drill. It actually was very common because grade 2 called for everyone that wanted to pass that grade to do a sec
Mhm.
check. And that's why it's so disgusting that what the Joburg drill says, what the Joburg sec check asks. I mean, already there they're asking if they've ever had sex with a member of their own family.
Yeah.
So in that sec check, that's what they're asking, and that's what these people are really answering. So the sec check was used a lot, but thank you for that anyways.
And tailor-made tech checks. Let's not forget because it's one thing to follow a certain written questions in the policy, but hey, I've had quite a few tailor-made tech checks done. So
Yeah. And that's the
they
thing,
would,
the tailor made are disgusting, guys, because then they just take anything about you that they know about you personally, and then they make tailored questions that couldn't be more sick, that couldn't be more insane. Ugh. Yuck. Laura, hi, what's up? Golden Rodder babies. What's up? You know Lara, right? Lara
Yes.
fam, Megan.
Yeah. Well, we were in Sandcastle for a while together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These kids' stories are so difficult for me to listen to, but I do because it's so important for them to have a voice and to be heard. Well, thank you, Dastardly
Thank you.
Saboteur. Scientology in Russia. Yes, Scientology in Russia, Scientology in Mexico, in Australia, in
Everywhere.
France. And again, you guys, that's what they use to purport that they're legal. Never mind that every other country has followed suit on whatever America pitched. I mean, they even got there as close to Russia. And there was a video somebody made about why David Miscavige is so afraid of Putin. So yeah, this is a Russia, America.
They're not, they don't have a religious status in Russia.
They don't have a, yeah.
No, because
They're like, no, this is too close to communism and the KGB. Why would we allow them to do what we do to everyone?
well, no, because Russia only has one religion. So they don't allow it. They don't have Russia doesn't have religious freedom like we do here.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much one religion. So that's why they don't allow it. I mean, they're treated as a business pretty much.
Yeah, as a child trafficking business that they are, which why are they open? Putin, KGB, take notes. Start getting your story straight and start really investigating as if you don't have the capacity to investigate. That's what it comes down to, right, Katrina?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, why are all these law enforcement agencies across the world literally kneecapped, unable to do a shred of a thing anywhere? As of the years 2023, this couldn't be more legal. And, you know, even in Russia, this being treated as a business, but, you know, America's still trafficking your kids out of Russia. So maybe you should really actually open your eyes and stop playing dumb, because there's a lot more than just any old business that an American science fiction writer that was a full indicted convicted felon really wrote for himself, all those stupid memos that make not a shred of sense.
Yeah.
Children of Scientology live in a resort hotel in a white sand beach town, beautiful sparkling clear water surrounded by beautiful ethical people. Yeah, that was the pitch in the magazine.
Yeah. Seriously.
The friendliest place on earth. That's right. That's another one of those pictures.
God, those are horrible. Oh my God.
Laura, hello and welcome to FLAG, the top training and processing order of the world. If you know the party or the extension you're trying to reach, enter it now or press 0 for the operator.
Oh my God, I remember that.
That's how they always answer the phone, you guys.
Yeah.
Gross. Hi, Serge and Katrina, survivors of the prison of Scientology. Your strength and resilience is inspiring. Well, thank you, Jazboo.
Thank you.
The women's dorms were frightening as kids. 30 plus, snoring, angry, naked, smoking adults, shared open bathrooms, no privacy. Ew. I could almost not even get through that thing, what that comment said. It was disgusting, you guys. Like, it's the men and the women there. Ew. If Scientology doesn't want victims, then stop victimizing people. Very good point, Daria.
That's true, actually.
Joe Spring, they made victims a bad word on purpose. That's right, Joe. They knew what in the hell they were doing. I remember old women undressed in the public bathhouse in Sweden, but that is a good memory. Like, that is how women look, but I didn't have to be alone. I was with my mother. Yeah, I mean, I think that would have been a very different thing if we were raised in a loving home and we went to a place where, you know, our parents were with us and there was nudity. Yeah, that's maybe something that, you know, we're not saying that no one should ever, whatever it is, your country's cultural stuff, but trust us, in those disgusting hotels, there was none of that.
Yeah. I think it is different. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that, like, if your parent brings you somewhere, then, and if you have a good, healthy relationship with your parent, then you usually trust your parent, right? And then the parent takes responsibility. But then at the same time, it's like you had no parent.
And we
It's,
were being overexposed to all of the sexual stuff too, guys, because they were calling it a 2D, a 2D is a 2D. And so and they just exposed
yeah,
us to everything sex under this false mantra of, oh, it's just all a 2D. We're just discussing the 2D. And that's
yeah,
how they eroded all boundaries to go ask any minor anything anyone felt like asking. Because, oh, we're just checking on their 2D. What's wrong with you? Like, so
yeah,
so all of those words are just so dangerous. In our women's dorm described above, my sister had night terrors at 14, was waking up other women. So she was assigned lower conditions, made to do amends, drink more CalMag, and victim shamed and blamed.
yeah,
Hashtag trauma. I mean, that's how it kind of went, you guys. Literally. Tanya Reedy, I've been watching all of your YouTube search. I hope you two and all the kids being victimized by those 6 bastards get the justice you deserve. Well, thank you, Tanya. Yeah, I mean, and we were just talking about this too, right, Katrina? It's like we hope that no kids go through what we went through.
yeah,
That's all this is, like we need justice for the kids that are inside going through our experience, same shit, different air freshener. That's all that they've been changing in those hotels, the air freshener, but the shit is just the exact same.
yeah.
Scientology's anti-church. They just wanted tax exempt status for their pyramid scheme. Yeah, good point. They were always telling us like we're the ones that have the technology. Everyone else is an idiot.
Yeah.
Blow drill. Paul Lipsitz was started as a folder page at 16. Thank you, Blow drill. Yes, that's right. I remember the Lipsitz family. They were a very rich family. They came from diamond money, I think. And there was
Mm.
Craig and Sean Lipsitz. Sean Lipsitz was also because I think Paul was his older brother, and then Sean was his younger brother, and he was also a tech page, with a bunch of young people at the HCCs. I mean,
Were they from
literally,
South Africa?
yeah,
Yes. Now I know who you're talking about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. That's right.
yeah.
Nigel, question: were you treated different than white Scientologists? Where we're treated different in there, they really. I feel like I don't know how you feel about this.
Mhm.
But how I experienced it, it was more like everything was so transactional, right? So like Alfred E. Johnson that had a big platform, then he would be treated as a celebrity, even though he's a
Yeah.
dark person. If you were a dark person that worked at OSA, I mean, Jana Fair, I just remember this. Jana Fair was a person that worked as a Commodore's messenger, guys. And Jana Fair called an OSA woman the N word. And then they were like, okay, well, we're just going to give you an ethics handling because Jana Fair was calling that OSA woman that
Pat.
was, yes, Pat,
Yes.
exactly. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Jana Fair, who
But
was,
you know what's weird though? If I look back, there wasn't much diversity. Flag was white.
yeah, white with, yeah. I mean, there was lots of Latin people though. I mean,
But white.
yeah, white. Well, I mean, I'm brown. I'm more brown than white. Um,
Well,
Well, but to your point, I mean, there was like Pilar Saldarriaga, this Colombian woman that had a lot of money, that came from a lot of money, and she was an executive, and she was Latin woman and given a lot of power. So it wasn't like Latin women were not being given power because Pilar Saldarriaga had a ton of power, and she was also very unhinged.
yeah, but I'm saying that we can go in. I'm gonna choose my words really carefully right now. But I think Scientology really did cater to make sure they don't have too many dark people. Because I can count on my fingers how many really dark people were there. There was the guy in Treasury, Pat, not one security.
Amber Dunham,
Amber,
then
Jasmine,
Jasmine Dunham, and
and then there are two brothers,
Aaron Dunham.
Aaron. and then the other brother,
Yeah.
Quentin, I think.
Quentin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quentin Dunham.
Like literally it was
True.
like 10 to 15 people.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's true. Hello, Serge. I think you have a book here. We could call it Forgive Me, Heartbreak Hotel, Losing Innocence to the Church of Scientology, Hotel Bordellos.
Oh,
Eek. I
yeah.
mean, in a nutshell, guys, that's what it is. It's unfortunate and disgusting. To this minute, they believe they are superior and they are above the law. God bless you. I will watch the rest later. Well, thank you, Nigel. Yeah, they do believe that they are above the law. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Catherine, parents are responsible. 100%. We 100% agree with you.
You remember we were just talking, I was saying like a lot of people think that like our parents are also victims because they're in it. And I remember I had to kind of switch that mentality because once I became a mother, you have responsibilities and like there's laws. And if you beat your child, you cannot like the CPS, the child services, protective services are gonna come to your house. Like, and you're gonna be investigated. Your child could be taken away from you. And you could literally go to jail. And like you have responsibility. And just because you're effed up and traumatized doesn't excuse you or like I guess kind of like say, well, I'm a victim too. I don't know. I don't see my mother as a victim.
And I understand that, because a lot of our parents were our traffickers. Had they not really gone through what they went through, we would have not ended up in the position we ended up in.
Yeah.
And, we trusted them and then they put us there in harm's way. And it doesn't matter, if your parent is very much like to alcoholism or drug addiction, right? If your parent is a drug addict and they, as a result of being under the influence, commit felonies against you, that's what is called, consequences, legal consequences to actions, because they are adults in adult bodies undergoing whatever in the hell they're doing inside those hotels. So it's not enough to just be like, yeah, but they were victims too. And we can have those two things be true at once. They are victims, they are defrauded and coerced, but never mind that they made that choice because they were above 18 and they had the ability to consent, where we did not have that ability whatsoever. And then
And it was
exposing
their responsibility to make right decisions for us that protect us. So yeah, I don't excuse it.
Yeah. And then Below Drill says, our parents recruited us to the Sea Org. They would say how proud of us they were for signing a billion-year contract. I mean,
yeah.
They couldn't be more proud. And all the adults, wow, you're doing amazing. You're doing great. And it's like, they were all into it. They were all about it. And that's what's so jarring about this, right? It's like we're talking Tom Cruise being part of this, Tom Cruise knowing that all of this was going on.
Yeah.
And literally funding it. Oh, here's another donation. Yeah, this is what we really should be doing. More money, more money. So they are putting their money where their mouth is, you guys. Never mind that apparently all it takes is for you to be a celebrity to not have a shred of a law applied to you. That's what we're questioning today.
Yeah.
My mother was brought into the Sea Org, then CMO at 14 years old. Hard to blame her, Beck. Well, you know what? I understand. Again, everybody of us has different sets of circumstances of how their parents were brought in. My parents were not brought in at 14. My parents were brought in their early 20s. And the point is that today, where are they? The multi-generational trauma did get passed down to the next generation. So we understand that there's a wheel and cycle of abuse. So we can advocate for our parents 100%. Like, no one should be exposed to this disgusting toxin, is what we're calling it, right? So Never mind that our mothers were putting the toxin inside the bottle and saying, yes, drink this.
Yeah.
Yes, my mother was giving it to me, so it must be okay. Let me do that to you. Because,
Yeah.
another thing before I forget, Katrina, you were bringing up such good points, right? Because shout out to all the Scientology mothers that are going to schools, regular, normal schools, because not all of them have Scientology schools that they can blame. Oh, but nobody told us. There's a lot of those Scientology mothers that are knowing that child
Mhm.
protectives exist, that all of this stuff is not okay, that trafficking does exist, that this is how it's done. I mean, even Marisol Nichols, actress
Yeah.
Marisol Nichols, she's a celebrity. She's besties with the human trafficking division at the LAPD. So how can she claim that no one told her and she was so insulated in that hotel that she never had a chance to Google anything for herself when she literally has the Hollywood Reporter and Cosmopolitan, I know Glamour magazine or
I was her
Cosmopolitan
tech
magazine.
page.
You were the tech page of Marisol Nichols?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, as if Marisol Nichols was not funding for Katrina to be put there as a tech page. So when Marisol Nichols, she wants to be Marisol Nichols for a free slave world is what her 501c is, Katrina. So these celebrities
She
like Tim
witnessed it. I was there. 14, 15, 13.
and
Like,
Marisol Nichols thought nothing of this, you guys. She was just thought, you know what? How great that,
totally
I
normal.
mean,
Yeah.
so normal. Like,
Mhm.
Katrina's not having a trafficking experience that can only happen in disgusting hotels, is their pitch, right? It's like, oh, it only happens in a seedy motel in the middle of nowhere. That's where the trafficking happens. In our glamorous hotels, no,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's what we're saying, Katrina. It's like no one can play dumb in this year 2023 anymore. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, is just ridiculous. Laura FM, I was on the EPF with Katrina, and then I worked under her mom at the sandcastle as a cleaner, all under the age of 17.
Yep.
See how beautiful, you guys? The truth corroborates itself,
Yeah.
It's like literally by itself.
And Laura, I'm gonna apologize because I know my mother was horrific.
Oh,
Like there's people who come across power and they love it and I know she was, and she probably still is, but she was horrific. She loved asserting that power over people. So
well, and it's called being a malignant narcissist, you guys, as if it wasn't already written what they're all in there having a problem with. It's called they become malignant narcissists. They become vampires. They feed off of kids.
yeah.
They can't see themselves a reflection in the mirror. If they go to a mirror, there's literally no self-reflection at all. Everything is what you were just saying, Katrina. My parents the same. My mom, sadistic AF. Like they were happy they could lock us up. They were happy they could follow these disgusting, sadistic recipes that just pitch the most sickening stuff. I mean, in what world would locking a child against their will is going to
Mhm.
result in any good thing for that child? And to your point, Katrina, it's only a child protective services thing, what we're talking about. Like, so it's really crazy. So yeah, well, Laura, I'm sure heard your your shout out. Catherine McMartin, yes, the parents can start pointing fingers at the real criminals or face the consequences. Well, that's true too. You know what, Catherine? If you're a Scientology parent and you have receipts and you really want to come clean and get your ethics in, do the right thing and step up and go knock on the FBI's door and say, hello, I have all of this information. I'm one of these people that do pay to have minors locked up in that hotel. And now I really figured out that it's not good to do that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if one of those parents sees these videos, Katrina, and they go, oh, yeah, well, you know what? Maybe it is not a good idea that 13-year-old girls are just running around dressed up in military uniforms, being, told that it's their job to look after, celebrities and all manner of other people.
Yeah.
Beck, I cleaned the sandcastle too. I'm probably older than you, though. I was like that in the ups too. Oh, well, thank you, Beck, for joining our community. We see you as well. We see you as well. Oh, and he sent us a super chat. That's so sweet. Raised to be non-human, just data bots. They failed. Love you all. Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what it was. We were literally little, like, you know, fleecing adult robots.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, those are the end of the comments for now. And I wanted to just close off this episode with a special poem that I wrote to dedicate to my friend Katrina. And this is what I wanted to read you.
Gonna make me cry again.
In the darkest of nights, she found her way from Siberian cold to an even colder Tampa Bay. At just 11, her life took a spin into the world of Scientology trapped within. The billion-year contract was all just legal spin, setting up every single shred of child to lose and not to win. Katrina, a survivor so bold, through the harshest of journeys, her story fully unfolds. From Clearwater's confines, she emerged with grace, today a beacon of hope for all of those kids that have been left in that rotten place. It's reality what is about to be replaced. With courage unyielding, she fought for her light. In the face of the shadows, she stood up and asked a simple question: what is it about this that is not right? From pain and from trauma, she's risen above, a symbol of strength, a testament of true unconditional love. So let's stand together hand in hand. We unite for the kids who still suffer in their desperate plight. With Katrina to guide us, we work to set free the children entrapped just like you and me.
I love you.
I love you, babe.
It's a long road, but I think in the closing, I'll say, I wish there was this community when I left, because I think things were just being a little bit easier. It wouldn't have to be this hard or this long.
Yeah.
And then just having that hope that you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
And people that get your plight, I mean, just like Beck, saw us speaking about the sandcastle. And it's like, yeah, I was there too as a child cleaning,
Yeah.
getting my time wasted. You just brought it up today. It was your job to not waste an adult's time. What
Yeah.
about your time? Why did no one advocate for your time? And that's where we're going here. We're going for common sense. We're going for, just literally at its face what's being done in those hotels, and it's being trivialized and ignored by all these corporate talking heads and all these companies and institutions and corporations that are in there protecting each other's images and exploiting people and purporting that they really do care. But money couldn't be literally the spine of America, you guys, because apparently that's all it takes.
Yeah.
When you have money in this country, you can bend the laws, you can make them toothless, you can just help yourself, and no one will care. As long as you throw money at the problem, everything is up for sale. As much as, they're telling Katrina that, yeah, we have a lot of freedom of religion here in America, and really do leave Russia because they don't have it there. Only does she get put in a more literal hell, concentrated help. I mean, Siberia was communistic, but L. Ron Hubbard's version of communism is even more sickening. I mean, because it's all concentrated in a radius of one literal building, right? So even Russia, as a huge government that they are, and as corrupt as they've been across history, abusing its own citizens for what L. Ron Hubbard did, and was allowed to do, and was allowed to have America pitch as a religious thing. Like, what in the world is this? Like, America that presents, oh yeah, we're all about with freedom, and aren't we the most freedom country? And it's like, you're lying. You're lying to yourselves. You're lying to everybody. The Congress couldn't be more lying, giving money to Ashton Kutcher because he really is going to solve, him and the tech bros are really going to solve trafficking.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're calling it out, and we appreciate that we have such a supporting community. So the more that we are able to find our voice, the more others feel that they can come forward with their receipts and their voice. And that's what's beautiful about this too, Katrina, because so many kids have been reaching out, you know, as a result of they hearing for the first time their plight, like what you just shared with us. Like, you know, somebody for the first time heard that, you know, kids were really cleaning at that sandcastle, like you and him. And, you know, it's like we can really expand.
Yeah, I think I give up on justice for me because, it's um how
Mm.
many times have I heard that the statute of limitation has run out and everything else, but um at least if somebody could get through this process of coming out and then being okay, like okay, because you're never really good, but you're okay. And it's almost like you have to go through like this deprogramming process. And for some people it takes a long time. And then by the time they realize that they're okay and they want to speak out, 5, 6, 10 years has gone by. And now guess what, hon? Your statute of limitation is run out. So I hope that I guess we could make some kind of community that we could help people to get through it faster.
Yeah.
So that way their statute of limitation doesn't run out and then they have their justice. Because we don't have our justice. So I guess for me, their justice is gonna be my justice at this point. And
Yeah,
I'm
no, absolutely. Well, you know, and I think we're even pushing on that so-called justice that, you know, our statutes of limitations couldn't have run out more. And I think that it's time to question all the things that we've been told, Katrina, because, you know, this is legal malpractice at a level that is unthinkable. And
yeah.
all it takes in America is to have fancy, expensive lawyers that
Oh
can
yeah.
lie through their teeth to
Yeah.
circumvent the law. Then you know what? It's like we're not buying that fake pitch because, you know, like you said, in the real world, without the corruption, the law does work. The law does impose consequences.
Yeah.
Never mind that we're literally living through this very corrupt, disgusting matrix of corrupt individuals that have really taken it upon themselves to normalize the enslavement of children, systemic, institutionalized
Yeah.
enslavement of children. So, you know, we would love to understand how the criminal statutes have, you know, been all of a sudden so gone by because, you know, it's not like all our records on when they did this to us as kids,
Yeah.
it's not already on the record. Like literally your R1 visas there for the FBI to go check out.
Yeah.
ICE can get involved. They can go find out who in the consulate was approving all these R1 visas, seeing 11-year-old girls that were
Yeah.
going to be stuck inside a hotel as if the government doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're pushing today. Like, it's like Scientology is getting away with a lot, but who's enabling it?
Yeah.
Like, who's the parent of this thing?
Yeah.
If America's not the parent of L. Ron Hubbard, then please, by all means, tell us who in the hell the parent is. And the
Yeah.
United States government and all its agencies that are state sponsoring what took place to us. You know, it's like we have nothing to prove. We already had our formative years stolen.
Mhm.
Like, you know, you have nothing to return other than our dignity. And most importantly, how we're showing up for here for the dignity of those kids that are
Yeah.
in our positions today, paging people around, wasting their time
Hmm.
of their formative years that you won't get back. They're not returnable. No one can do anything. They can blab and, oh, our heart goes out to you. And that's all we ever hear. Our heart
Yeah.
goes out to you, prayers and whatever. Okay, that's doing nothing. Like you said, it's like the damage has been done. It's up to us now to recover. And that recovery comes from, demanding accountability. And, I know that you don't see justice for yourself today, but by the time these people are really put their feet to the fire, they will have to start answering us and start pretending like we don't exist, like we don't know what in the hell we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I think that, you do know what in the hell you're talking about, since you really actually took it upon yourself to open a child service facility, and you saw firsthand what it took to open an establishment with doors where children come in. So you can see really easily, like, well, if I had to do all of this and you had to do nothing, then justice is injustice, right? Because the legal's supposed to be about everyone the same. So how is this like this and how is that like that?
Well, honestly, I will tell you there's two government organizations right away that failed us. That is Children's Protective Services.
So shout out to you, Child Protective Services of Clearwater and Los Angeles, both.
The police department, and all those doctors and all those nurses that didn't report anything when a lot of us were hospitalized. Like, I was hospitalized. I'm sure some of us were very sick and we had to go to the doctor, because all those people are mandated reporters. And by law, if somebody picked up the phone and anonymously made a claim that there is child abuse in Quality Inn at this and this address, the Child Protective Services needed to show up, do a random inspection, see everything, and then actually like follow up. If Scientology wasn't letting them in, Child Protective Services have the right to call the cops. And then the cops basically tell them, you have to let them in by law. If you don't let them in, then you're going to be charged. So,
well, and the problem, to your point of law enforcement, right, is like, even if they call the Clearwater police, it's not like the Clearwater police is going to show up and be like, ha ha ha, this is great, bye bye. They're so used to the smell of shit that they cannot smell it. I mean, they literally have all kinds of eyeballs in there, right, Katrina? It's like, I remember at Flag,
I have my whole history with Clearwater PD.
And we will get into that, guys, because both of us already did take it upon ourselves to go report everything, to do all the due diligence, all the heavy lifting. Like, we understand that no one can do anything if nobody reports. And people always keep telling us in the comments, well, why doesn't this get reported? It's been reported and reported again and reported again. And even Leah and Mike had somebody yesterday, you guys, that the woman that has just literally come out recently that went on the record and discussed how she was sex checking a literal, self-admitted, to children. Okay, so that anyone can be like, well, Katrina and Serge, you left so long ago, they still don't do it anymore. Wrong. This woman just recently left and recently was saying, like, this was one of the things that broke her camel's back when she was put to do the sex checking of this individual, a self-admitted felon. That, again, why does a 2-week course inside a hotel give these people access to be questioning, including but not limited to self-admitted Class A felons that are committing felonies on kids, only for every last shred of investigation to get bungled? How in the world can every last police investigation of the United States of America bungle kid abuse? I mean, yeah, sometimes they might get it wrong. Sometimes it might be hard to prove. But every last one, no, not one investigation goes okay, finds any problem. So we're always told, like, no, you're the ones with the problem.
Yeah.
You're the ones that have the issue. And it's like, really? Are we really the ones that have the issue? Because, by all means, Clearwater Police, defend your indefensible record. Y'all can defend it. You couldn't be more chummy sleeping with all these people yourselves, literally sleeping with the enemy of child abusers. Because how many videos do we have, Katrina, where any of us have showed up in any of these places where the police shows up like this? Like, And they're the fierce advocates of these people, guys.
Listen, last time I was like, I'm gonna be first.
Yeah.
I know my rights as a citizen. I'm calling the cops.
Yeah.
Because, and then of course they did. But then see, now there's that conflict of interest because the cop that came for me is supposed to be on my side, and the cop that came for them is on their side. And it was, anyways, I'll tell you that story one day.
Yeah, we'll
It
get
was
into the
really
details, guys.
interesting.
We'll
It
get
was
into the
very,
weeds of all of that because, again, you know, we're asking ourselves what in the literal hell is going on, and why is all this gaslighting okay with everybody, and why does no one hold anyone accountable for anything? They can just play dumb, and apparently that is all it takes. So we're going, no, that's not all it takes. We're not dumb. We're not naive kids anymore. We're not adults in small bodies. We're adults in adult bodies. And today, as adults, the receipts we have for ourselves could not be making any less literal sense at all. I mean, as we have Katrina here that has done the heavy lifting of learning about the laws of how children are supposed to be being protected by the people that are around children. It's a privilege and it's a responsibility and it's a duty. And, you know, we don't need new laws. The laws already exist.
yeah.
We need people to enforce, not to write more stuff that everyone's going to be like, we really do write a lot of laws here, but no one is around to enforce a shred of law. Then it couldn't be more pathetic or useless or just admin exercises, what they called in Scientology. Just
Yeah.
writing shit for no reason as if that's going to make any difference.
You know, I was gonna suggest this new thing because, you know, we talked about how the government has failed us, the police has failed us, the CPS has failed us, and even the media has failed us, right? I think this is the perfect opportunity to use cancel culture. Because I was thinking, I was like, the excuse that we keep getting from, listen, I have spoken to FBI agents. I have spoken to what is that agent? National Security agent. And they all told me,
DHS, Department of Homeland Security? I think the Department
yeah,
DHS. No?
Homeland Security.
Homeland Security, yeah.
Oh, yes, maybe.
DHS. Uh-huh.
But it was definitely not FBI. And they were like, we really don't have a case, and it's a church, and that's the always excuse. It's a church. But you know, the other day I was actually sitting there and I was thinking how big of a scandal it was when a few years ago there was actually cancel culture about the big no-nos that priests were doing.
Right. And then we have like the example of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell that were also collecting blackmail, that were also grabbing underage kids for themselves, that were also propping up mansions to do it in Florida. Florida, the very kid-friendly, go do whatever in the hell you want to a kid there.
Yeah.
Because good luck getting anyone to help a kid in Florida, you guys. That's why these people go to that state, because they know that they will get away with it. They know that it will be propped up. And, you know, they can get away with it if nobody calls them out. You know what I mean? That's the cancel culture we're calling for here. We're calling for canceling the lies, canceling the status quo, canceling playing dumb, canceling pretending they have not a shred of a clue and that their job is so difficult, because if only the perpetrators weren't keeping track and records and video recordings of everything they did, in what world do you have a hard criminal case to prove? I mean, literally miss us with y'all's BS. All we have is, you know, prosecutorial discretion gone awry AF, because not a single straight state attorney can figure it out, because, oh yeah, you know, I'm sure they're very disgruntled, those kids that were trafficked. I'm sure that's how they want to see us today. Oh yeah, they're nothing but a bunch of disgruntled kids that, you know, should be so happy, you know, to have even gotten a plane to come to America and take them out of their third world country. Well, you know what? Wrong.
I think there's so far, like everybody who has, if you look at all the media and everything that has been done, it is mostly on how ridiculous it is, this you and everything else, right? Tom Cruise and all the celebrities. Um, I think an average American, their reaction, if they even know what Scientology is, their first reaction is, ha ha, it is crazy, it's a crazy cult, Xenu and all this stuff. Or a lot of people know, and that work is amazing. It was a great work. Going Clear was an amazing documentary. Leah Remini show was an amazing documentary series. But the thing is that I feel like there hasn't been, a lot of times it's like, well, they're adults and they made that decision on their own. And if they want to believe crazy, well, that they have the right to believe crazy. But I don't think there has been that much out there that, like, this is specifically being done to children. And the law enforcement can say we can't do anything, it's an adult and they made their choice. As long as they're not physically like handcuffed to a freaking to a radiator, right? We can't do anything. But if this narrative switches from haha crazy cold you Tom Cruise to, and from consenting adults deciding to do something stupid, right? To actually children, because it hasn't been spoken that much. And that is actually something that law enforcement and the government and everybody else can do something about it. You can be a church and you can have a religious exemption, but just like with the Catholic Church or whatever that church was, you're a priest and you have a religious exemption, but you still cannot break the law. Like you
Right.
can't.
And it couldn't be more, the whole platitude of no one is above the law. In
Yeah.
what world is that even a thing here in America? When all these people have shown their ability to be so way above the law, they run circles around the law. The law enforcement couldn't be more on their side, advocating on their rights to believe and be unhinged. Never mind that unhingement is the type of toll that kids are paying. And that's why we're making our point right now. It's like, why is it up to the kids to pay that price? It's not.
And the law enforcement is aware of it, because how many times have we personally witnessed law enforcement hired as private security at Flag? I mean, how many times has there
How
been
much undue
events?
influence does that really actually take, you guys? Because we're seeing that this is a very, who else hires private security? Hollywood. And you know what? My husband's father used to work at LAPD. Okay, so he's a veteran of the LAPD, was there for years and everything. And guess how Hollywood got all manner of special treatment, because we really need you for our movie. We really need you to make sure that nobody wants to, do this and do that. And here's this payment, and here's more payment, and here's more payment to y'all. And it's like, Hollywood and Scientology could not be more corrupt and disgusting themselves, because they're really literally the ones that are actually acting as full-blown cultures. Let's call them cult for short, but it's a culture.
Yeah.
It's like they also have their
But to say that even particularly Clearwater Police has no idea what's going on. I mean, how many times have there been protests? And what did Clearwater Police do? For how many months did Clearwater Police sat by the CW building in that little alley and watched all those buses come? They watched all of those children get out, in and out every single day. How many times have you witnessed, remember all the events, the New Year's event, the LRH birthday, all those events? Because there's going to be a big collection of people on the street. So for safety, the Clearwater Police actually have to have the police there to make sure public safety, right? Just like any protest, you're going to have a protest, police comes to just make sure everything is in order and protect the people who are protesting. The cops are there all the time. They witness everything. You tell me they don't see all the small children in the EPF uniform going in and out? Like, really? And then you're gonna sit there and be like, we can't do anything. Like, they should have been the ones, like, they're mandated reporters by law. Police
I
officers
mean,
are
literally,
mandated reporter by law. Like, if a
literally.
police officer suspects that there's anything, even if it's a suspicion, he doesn't need to have a reasonable cause. But they have the right to call the CPS, and then the CPS comes and checks. It's like, it's disgusting. It really is disgusting. And the amount of, I don't know, I'm not going to call it a corruption, but the amount of smooching and everything else that's between, Clearwater PD and Scientology is just ridiculous. It really is. They're literally not doing their jobs, and it's their job. It's literally their job. So
It's so
I-
true, you guys. I mean, it's literally what they're being subsidized to do. That's what they're being entrusted to do. That's the
Mhm.
oath of office that they take and all of that. That again, it couldn't be more of a platitude and a show and a clownery if you're not actually going to do the job that you're actually supposed to be getting empowered. No, any old citizen is, we're not asking people to go and harass these people yourselves as citizens, as private citizens. That's not for any of us to do,
Yeah.
but it's these people that do wear a badge that purport to be about enforcing laws that again we don't see the evidence of a shred of law being enforced. So we are going to be calling that out because why is everyone like, is the lack of outrage, which is what the problem is, right, Katrina? It's like, how can we be outraged? Everyone here, there's 53 of you guys right now checking this out, listening to this for 2 hours, outraged AF. I mean, everything that we shared is not like we didn't see it ourselves personally, you guys. I mean, and that's what we're calling out even on the corporate media, because it's like, okay, just say that we allege a lot of stuff on this live. Well, never mind that this live is not going to age well for y'all who have literally pretended that these are just such allegations. Never mind that we have a policy that can be provided to you to literally corroborate every last shred of sentence coming out of our mouth. We did this because this policy said this. We did this because this policy said that. This was okay because this policy said to do it like this. And everybody was so pressed about really enforcing policies. And
Yeah.
that's why nobody has a shred of plausible deniability. That's why we're calling out our parents as full enablers, part of a criminal conspiracy that they became pawns and parties to, unwillingly, unwittingly, because they were defrauded. Because, yeah, there's a lot of things that go on with that. We understand that. But in a nutshell, everything was done premeditated and full knowing. The criminal organization could not be more criminal if they weren't keeping literal tabs of all the criminal stuff they were literally
Yeah.
involving themselves in. That
Yeah.
again, I
Yeah.
was a kid when I was doing this stuff. Like, we didn't know what in the hell we were doing, but we do know now. So that's all that matters. In the aftermath of it all, we know what in the hell's going on. We've studied the law for ourselves so that we can have an adult conversation that actually goes somewhere, that is not
Mhm.
a full-blown insult to our intelligence today, because we do understand what rights we do have, we should have
Mhm.
had at the time, and what rights are being violated of kids that having the same experience as we did. The only choice we have, Katrina, is to be the advocates we wish we would have had when we were stuck inside those hotels, right? Like, that's the only thing we're left with in terms of justice for ourselves. It's like, you know what? We can make those points for ourselves. It's okay
Mhm.
to call these people out on their corruption and their enabling, because again, the enablers are not the victims. So if a law enforcement wants to cry and cry that it's so hard to do our job, well, maybe don't enable it, and maybe
Yeah.
your job will become so much easier. Actually, if you actually take your badge seriously and go knock on some doors and go ask for the files and go see how many cameras are inside those hotels. It's not like there's not a camera in every single ounce of everywhere. Again, taking any plausible deniability these people want to have, because they're watching it all. They're literally doing it all and
Yeah.
watching it all and being entitled criminals.
It is so the other, actually, so it's CPS, police, and then doctors and nurses that failed us as children the most, because we were always sent to Scientology doctors, and doctors are mandated reporters. If they have any inkling of there could be an abuse, physical or mental, they have to report it. And all those Scientology doctors and all those Scientology nurses that treated us, and they have a license from state of Florida and never reported any of it, because there were Scientologists and they were totally aware of what was going on inside.
Mhm.
And they never did their duty. And when you're a mandated reporter, if you don't report a crime, you're going to get prosecuted for that crime. You're just as guilty for not reporting it. I know it because I was a mandated reporter. I took it very seriously. And there's a very harsh punishment. And a doctor or a nurse who obviously knew that there was abuse and did not report it, A, should be prosecuted, and B, should have their medical state license taken away and suspended, because it's against the law. And how many times have they broken that law?
100%. And just to double down on their corruption, you guys, these people at the medical office, and we have a kid that is, we actually have several kids that have reached out to us that were in the medical office of these places where they would vet doctors. They would know who they can take where to who or what to circumvent what you were just talking about, Katrina, that no one has brought up. I mean, clear as day. I mean, they literally have Megan Shields was a Scientology doctor. There's another doctor in Clearwater, Richard Wallace, I believe is his last name. And I'm sure that could all be Googleable. Who has, Minkoff is another doctor. I mean, never mind that the chiropractors don't have actual, are they mandated reporters, chiropractors?
About chiropractors, I'm not sure, but I know nurses, doctors, teachers, any childcare providing facility, cops, anybody who's dealing with children as a profession, is a mandated reporter.
Okay. I just asked ChatGPT if chiropractors are mandated reporters, you guys. The requirement for chiropractors to be mandated reporters varies by jurisdiction and specific laws and regulations in place. Some regions, chiropractors may be mandated reporters for certain types of abuse or neglect, particularly if they work with children or vulnerable adults, which, these chiropractors of Scientology treat children and seniors. So anyways, but who knows if that's the case in Florida. But Florida and California, so you would think that either one of those states, being so politically diversely different, would either one of them should have that, right? But well, thank you guys for joining us today. This was so great, and Katrina will be joining us again. We have so many more things to unpack, and these are just the very beginnings of a long journey. And we couldn't be happier to be joined by you, Katrina, in this walk for answers and transparency and truth and advocacy of all the kids.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I've always been passionate about kids, and now being a mother myself, it's like, oh, I can't stand it. I can't. It's just, oh, it was so disgusting what was done, and so horrific. And I really do genuinely want to help anybody who maybe is going through the process or is having trouble with just processing all of this. It's hard. It took me 10 years to get where I am. And I'm still going to trauma therapy. It takes time and it's hard and it's scary. So, but it's worth it, I think, because you've just become a happier, better person for yourself, number one, and then a happier, better person for your partner or your kids.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Katrina, for joining us today. And we will see you guys all extremely, extremely soon. Bye bye.